Hey YouTube, this is our last video in the NAMM series. This is Agent/Burger Bob, whatever you want to call me. Our last brand is Tianjin, which is probably the importer and not who makes the trombones that I'm talking about. But anyway, that's the name I have. Again, my disclaimer, I work for two drum corps, one sponsored by Jupiter, one sponsored by Yamaha, Pacific Crest, and Cadets in that order. And I play mainly consoler instruments and a Yamaha euphonium, but I'm not sponsored by any of those guys. And my views do not represent those drum corps. So on we go. Tianjin, making some cheap trombones. They had a T396 copy, like an Edwards Alessi model, that I thought was pretty good. It was all right. It was like a pretty good tenor trombone. This one had a fake valve, so these guys are not going all out, putting real Rotaxes on them. So it's just a normal rotor valve that kind of looked like a Rotax, maybe the same dimensions. And it had a nickel slide, which would not be on a T396. This is another one of those companies that they are trying to cheap out, and the nickel slide is the way to do that. That's what they did. And this horn didn't suffer too much for it, but it's not like I would play this every day and just like be super happy about it. The next one is a B&S Meistersinger copy, as far as I could tell, or similar style to that anyway. Kind of like all gold brass with nickel fittings. It looked really good. This one actually had gold slide tubes. Not lacquer over nickel or anything like that, but actual gold slide tubes. So these guys have figured out how to make actual brass slide tubes, which is huge. Because then they can start making real slides and not just nickel garbage slides. I thought this had really good feedback and a good low range. Good horn all around, actually. Not far behind some like actual American-made or European-made instruments of the show. A good instrument. Next one up is I think a Getsin 3047 copy with an axial flow valve. I thought it was really well built. It was well put together. It had a good Thayer valve. When these companies copy things, they usually copy the valve and then they kind of don't do it very well, and so the valve is kind of the weak point. I'm sure this is still the weak point, but at least at the show, this Thayer played and moved, did everything really well. So that's kind of weird. I'm not sure how they did that so well. And this horn was very even. Good low range, good high range. Also a nickel slide, but, you know, whatever. They at least got most of it right. And I think this had a brushed finish. Just a small aside, if you see a horn with a brushed finish, that means the company made it easier to make. If you give a brush finish, that's pretty simple. You just go over the whole thing with a scratch pad, kind of make it even, and then you lacquer over it. Ta-da! Instead of buffing every part to be completely shiny and then lacquering over it. That's a lot harder than just putting a scratch finish on it. So when you see that that brushed or scratch finished, that means they took the easy way out. I don't want to say like it's a bad thing. Maybe you love how that looks, but I don't really like how it looks, and I feel like that's in the case of companies like this. Maybe they were buffing it and then put a big scratch in it, and they went, you know what? Screw it. Let's just put a scratch finish on it. No one's gonna know. Just so that's out there. They also had euphonium with a tuning slide trigger and I think gold accents, so kind of like a best in prestige copy. I thought this was really good. It was a good horn. It had a good trigger setup so you could adjust it. Had a guard in the back so the tuning slide didn't hit your shirt. I want one of those for my euphonium so badly. Come on, Yamaha. Had a good intonation, good valves. Kind of just an all-around good euphonium. So these guys, I think, are copying euphonium and not changing a lot about it. Whereas the Hebai company that I played earlier were making up their own instruments and not doing it very well. So I would prefer they all make their own instruments of their own designs and do them really well, but I guess if they're going to make copies, then you may as well do that really well too. So there we go. That's the last company video for NAMM 2018.